Hello everybody! So we have this question 31, and the code is defining a class. It has two variables, x and z. It has a constructor function in it, which takes an object called self, x and z as arguments. It gives self.x the value of x, and self.z the value z. Then it has a function here called bar, which prints self.z. Do you see this indentation here? It looks like this function is inside of another function. I'm creating an object called ft, which is a function with a constructor, so I'm giving it two values, 2 and 3. I'm calling foo with a value of 10 and bar. So if I try to copy this code into here and try to save it and hit F5, it will give me errors. It says attribute error, function test object has no attribute called foo. So it says that foo is not defined here. So it looks like it is not in it. So what I can do is, if I have the indentation back here and save it and hit F5, it runs with all the values, 3 and 20. The value 20 is coming from foo, because although foo was called with a value of 10, it came in here, but the value changed to 20 here, and as a result that is printed. Bar is called and it does not take any arguments. It prints the value of z. This has a value of 3. So the code that is in the study guide will give you an error, unless you have these indentations here. So if you remove the indentations, it will come back here. Otherwise, there's a problem. Also, if we see here, this function, which has an object that was created, also has an indentation here. So if I try to give an indentation here, and I remove the extra indentation that was here, then we get an error. So now the function test is not defined. So we're sequencing the object. The object foo was not available because it had an indentation, but now function test is not defined. So it says that after the indentation, function test is not defined. So it is giving me an error. So those of you who are doing the study guide, who found these extra indentations and are saying that this code is giving an error, you're right. If you did it without the indentation, then this code was only giving you help for how to create classes and create global variables and how to call a class, or make an object from a class, and then call the function within a class. The next question we have is number 38, which is also about classes. Here I am creating a class called strTest. I have str as a global variable, which has the value jumping space. Then I am creating a constructor. Then I have another function which is doOutput. It is printing the first character in this string, which is x of 0. So 0 will be j. J is 0, u is 1, m is 2, and so on. I'm creating an object with the class. I'm giving it a value of w here because my constructor takes at least one variable. So I have to give one variable here, and instead of this string, I'm giving it another string, which only has one character, w. I'm also calling doOutput. DoOutput only takes one variable, so we are giving it w, or x of 0. And in this string, x of 0's value is w itself. This string has only one index, and it will start from 0. So if I just copy this, and instead of running it in idle, I will run it in the Python visualizer. I'm using Python 3.3, not Python 2.7. If I just say visualize, and instead of step by step, I can click last, and it does run, and it prints w. It is not giving me any errors. You can also see here that I don't even have any indentations here. For the sake of testing, I can even run it in here. And it prints w here. And I have no indentations. In the study guide, I also don't have indentations. So this function was not supposed to fail. It should print out its value w. And if we have the indentation and outdentation here, if I say, just for testing, we remove this w, and try to save it and try to run it, now it's giving an error saying that the init function is missing one required positional argument string, or str. So in this function, my double under init constructor is taking one variable, str. When I call my object, I try to create my object. I did not give any values here. So if I remove this w and I have a w here, let's see what happens here. I still get the value, but the function error message is different. The error message is saying that doOutput is missing one required positional argument, which is x. I wanted to have x. X was not given. And if I give another value instead of w, let's see, if I hit F5 now, I get H. In my doOutput, when I call doOutput, I get a string value, hello, and the 0th character is capital H. So H is on index 0, so that will be printed. So that is everything you need to know about functions and questions number 31 and 38. 31 was failing because it has indentation errors. If I just take these two values and have the indentation a little bit back, it will not give me any values. So if I remove this indentation, it will not have any errors. But if I have indentations in exactly this format, it does have an error because foo is indented a little bit more. Otherwise, it should run. The only thing was we need to figure out which value is printed. It will not print 10. It will print self.x, which is 5, when foo is called. It should print 5. And the same thing goes for number 38. Number 38 is running correctly, and it doesn't have any errors. The only thing we were checking is that I'm giving a value here as w, but actually my str variable is jumping with the space after it. So we need to see which value it will print. So because I'm calling the w will come in here in x, and it will be printed. Also, if you see here, when I call ft, my str becomes W. It does not change its values like the jumping string, which is in my class object. For ft object, you'll see ft is pointing to W, while the str test, which is a class, is pointing to str jumping. So hopefully this helps and helps you solve your problems, and if you still have any questions, please let me know. Thanks.